Shout out to our sponsors at IconBet. Open source, decentralized gaming, no deposits, play straight from your wallet. IconBet, made by the players, for the players. Eye on Icon is proudly supported by Icon Nation and the Icon community.
I think let's do it. Shall we get started? We're recording as well, so anyone who misses out. So once again, for everyone who's joined, thank you for taking the time. Just a bit of context of how we'll do this session. Really, it's about the community asking questions. But I thought, given we had such major news come out yesterday, obviously, and that was a surprise in itself. So I thought what we may do is I'll throw some questions at Scott around. Let's kick it off. We'll talk about ICE. I'll throw some questions that I've pre-planned a little bit, obviously. And then once done, anyone else who wants to throw a question around that topic, around ICE, make a call and you can have the stage. Just remember, everyone, it is really important we be respectful in how we talk. Everyone, this whole purpose of these calls is, you know, everyone's listening. We want more community engagement. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make sure we bring the news straight to the community and hear what the community has to say, but everyone needs to be respectful. The best of intentions are at play over here. So once we do that, then let's move off into balanced so that at least we're talking about one particular topic and all the questions are getting asked around it. Now, if there are any objections, please speak up, but I thought this may help the conversation flow a bit more naturally. And given ICE is such a hot topic, let's dive into that. So, Scott, first of all, thank you for joining us in this session. I know the community really values not only any time you put out a tweet, but these kind of sessions, these informal sessions where you just jump in and share thoughts and plans. It's just amazing. So thank you again.
Yeah, happy to do this. I mean, this is I enjoy these as well, so no problem.
Awesome. Okay, well, look, first off the bat, a question on everyone's mind. ICE. Amazing news. Why do we need it? Why is ICE needed for Icon?
Yeah, I mean, I think like any of the developers in the Icon ecosystem will have a firmer understanding, but EVM compatibility, it sounds like a complicated concept, but again, I would encourage everyone in our community that doesn't understand what this kind of stuff means to take the time to learn. But you can kind of break it down into two things that are fairly simple. I mean, EVM compatibility, Ethereum uses Solidity as the programming language for its smart contracts, for those of you that don't know. And that's when a lot of chains say that they're EVM compatible, it means that their smart contracts are written in Solidity. Icons right now are written in Python, and Icon 2.0 will be written in Java. So if we wanted to, for example, launch a similar product to Compound or Aave, like what Ohm is doing, instead of being able to say, oh, look, there's all this audited, really high quality code, smart contracts on Ethereum that was used for Aave and Compound. Let's leverage that for OMM. Instead, we need to say, oh, they have a pretty good idea. Let's innovate on it, but let's write the entire thing from scratch and take significantly longer to do so. So one right there, that very simple use case of being able to leverage all of the Solidity code that exists and all of the audited Solidity code, for that matter, that exists, is extremely important for iteration and innovation. So Icon developers, it's not about copying other people's products and launching it really fast. It's about being able to iterate and innovate faster. You see something that's good, that you like, and you have an idea of how to make it better, you can build off of it instead of writing the entire thing from scratch. So that's a huge value add of EVM compatibility right there. And then some less tangible things, and maybe the development side, more on the business side, is the integrations into third-party services. So EVM has standard APIs, and API is just getting information about something. So CoinMarketCap, for example, CoinGecko, when they integrate a new token, they need to hit the APIs of the blockchain to get information on it. And EVM compatibility is a standard kind of set of APIs that makes it really easy for third-party integrators to add you to their service. So those are two kind of high-level ones. I think I mentioned in my tweet storm previously, but I mean, yeah, that's a major reason for ICE and why we came up with it. Why did we do it on a separate network? We explored two alternatives. One was building a trans compiler. What does that mean? It sounds like a big word. A trans compiler is translating Solidity code into Java or into Python. So that way it would still work on Icon, but wouldn't get any of the benefits of APIs. And trans compilers are typically very difficult to maintain and come with a lot of bugs. So then the other option was adding EVM directly to the Icon network, which just takes significantly longer than building the ICE blockchain and adds significant complexity to Icon's core, making further upgrades in the future that much more difficult. So this ultimately ended up being the fastest and most efficient solution to achieve EVM compatibility, and also somewhat unique. So kind of was just like a win-win-win across the board there.
Yeah.
So I've got a question. Obviously, so there's upside on the dApp ecosystem side of things, right? Because now we've created ICE, which is much more conducive and hospitable to people who want to build dApps. Is there any upside on the Icon side to where, maybe, okay, now there's traffic taken off of Icon, so we can focus so much on BTP? Or is it really just benefit the ecosystem side? And obviously there's still, Icon still is perfectly suited for BTP and moving in the right direction. But does splitting them create upside for both chains, I guess
I would say it creates upside in the sense that the Icon core development team has like a pretty clear focus, instead of hearing from me and saying, oh, like we need this other feature for smart contracts to support this like complex DeFi product, please add it ASAP. Instead of hearing like that kind of stuff, it's like they get to solely focus on, all right, how can we lower the transaction speed? How can we make this the lowest latency bridging solution in the ecosystem? How can we make this the cheapest, fastest, best interoperability solution on the market? It's like a very clear-cut direction for the core development team.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I think even just airing my train of thought here, even when I looked at, for example, Icon, we know we're like the second, third generation chain that can process so much. So Ethereum has had to deal with side chains and scaling because they just, first generation, and this has hindered them. But I always had this thought in my mind going, yeah, we're here now, but eventually we're also going to hit that limit. And what forward thinking are we putting in place to go, okay, when we arrive here, we're not in the same place as Ethereum going, holy crap, we need a sidechain, we needed this, we needed that, how are we going to scale? So for me, I think, and tell me if I'm wrong here, Scott, this is what got me most excited. Yes, it's coming in, it's wrapped up with EVM, which is really important. But on a side note, this is us scaling before we even come into that issue. Would that be a fair?
Sure. I mean, that is fair. It's like kind of created a sharded network, like a business case sharding in a way. Certainly not from the technical standpoint, but, in terms of like, the way the ecosystem operates, we've kind of created these more clearly defined networks. So I'd agree with that.
Great. Okay, so the next thing that is on everyone's mind as well, it starts to, because there's a one-to-one airdrop. Everyone gets excited about airdrop, but can we get some examples of how the ICX token is directly tied to ICE? How is the relationship intertwined?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, actually. It's on the ICE network, it's going to be a two-token system, which anyone who's been in blockchain for a bit, VeChain does it, Neo does it, Ontology does it. It's a bit different. Neo and those guys, they don't. It's not a DPoS network. But yeah, you stake ICX on the ICE network and you earn ICE. You don't stake ICE. You cannot stake ICE. It's not a stakeable token.
So say that again, Scott. What did you just say? You need to what ICE?
You stake ICX on the ICE network to earn ICE. You do not stake ICE. ICE is not a stakeable token. It's only used for gas fees.
Okay. So, and at the moment, basically, which you're working through, but what we do know is everyone who's holding ICX is going to get essentially a 1-for-1, get rewarded one ICE token.
Right. Yep.
Cool. Donnie, I could wrap up. Yeah.
I would say, obviously, the value proposition of ICX right now is you need it to basically do anything on Icon. You can get staking rewards for it. You can use it for collateral and everything like that. Obviously, that's the reason that ICX accrues value, especially on the governance side. That's just a quick run of things. Obviously, there's other reasons too. Is it basically the same for ICE on the ICE network? Obviously, ICX still is used for governance. I guess I have a follow-up question to that in a second here. But I guess if I'm on ICE and I hold ICE, what creates value for ICE over the long term? Is it just the fact that you can only use ICE to pay gas fees, or are there other? Is there going to be other value beyond that? I think this could be a potentially just obvious answer, but I just wanted to float it out there just to address it.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I would say ICX has, on the Icon network, it has governance, staking rewards. It's used as collateral and balanced. And then we have that added aspect when BTP goes live of being able to purchase like the auctioned off fees. And then, the ICE token it's just gas fees, the way that ETH works on Ethereum, just gas fees. And then, what's it called? I do imagine, and I would think that anyone who is building on the ICE network, why not have balanced deploy, balanced brand on, or balanced product on the ICE network that uses ICE tokens as collateral, for example.
Call it balanced frozen or something. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure we'll have plenty of meme products on there.
So I guess my follow would be, it mentions that ICX is still used for governance. So will users have a chance to say, okay, I want to use half my ICX to delegate on Icon and half of it to delegate on ICE, or I can use 100% of it on ICE, or I can use 100% of it on ICX. Is that is that what the choice is essentially?
That is what the choice is. Yep.
Okay. And there might be instances where on ICE the rewards might be better because there aren't as many people there. And then everyone flocks to ICE because the staking rewards are lucrative, and then all of a sudden people decide they want to move back to Icon because maybe the staking rewards shot up to like 16% or something like that. Is that how potentially could play out?
That is exactly how I want it to play out. We'll see. And not only that, as people move back and forth, that's going to be over a BTP connection, so that's going to be generating fees that are either going into contribution proposal system or being auctioned off, burning, just adding more value to the Icon ecosystem via BTP as well.
Right.
Wow. Okay. If I could interject, I just have a quick question. I mean, how well thought out is this whole ICE situation with IconFi and Ohm? Is IconFi? I mean, maybe it's a question for IconFi. I'm sorry if I'm asking you, but is it going to incentivize the holders of ICX on IconFi by being able to stake for them? If they are trying to simplify things for ICX holders who may not be as adept to switching and maybe using a bridge or activating an EVM.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty interesting idea. No, I have not coordinated with IconFi, so I can't give an answer if they have a strategy for it. I do believe that this is likely news to the IconFi team as well. The ICE blockchain and the plans for it. So yeah, I don't, what's it called? I'm not exactly sure how they handle it, but that could be an interesting service for them to offer in terms of optimizing your yield as an ICX holder.
Got it. And so what about the supporters of Balanced? I mean, with their staked ICX, is Balanced going to do their best to help them get the airdrop?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's no way that I'm I can never say 100% certainty, but I'll go ahead and say 90+% certain that we would figure out a way to make it happen, even if some of it had to be off-chain data calculation. I mean, the data is there. We'll be able to figure it out.
All right, cool. Thanks. All right, I'll hand it back to Fez or Icon now.
Okay, so look, I think in a second let's open it up. If anyone has questions they want to jump on and ask, please request. I am figuring this out myself, so I'm hoping I can see it and accept it.
We want to keep these ICE related for the time being, correct?
Yeah. Let's stick on the ICE. I guess while I gauge who's interested in stepping up, Scott, what about? So what are your thoughts at the moment? Is it in terms of the dApps on Icon? So essentially Balance, for example, you gave an example. Would we still look at the dApps being built on Icon, or would there be a bit of a focus shift where EVM is on ICE, go build there, and Icon will just connect everything together?
I'd say like from a branding and branding and strategic perspective, definitely going to be pushing, the app development onto ICE, because it has both the substrate standard and EVM compatibility. And then on the Icon side, it's going to be very focused on like low latency cross-chain applications. So or not necessarily low latency cross-chain applications, but BTP, right? And the applications come with that. So I would say that if you are trying to build a complex cross-chain application, like something like very intense DeFi-wise, that you're trying to build a yield aggregator that's going to query data from 10 different blockchains and decide what the best strategy is, like something like that, you'd want to build that in Java on the Icon core. But if you're just trying to like fork curve or experiment with something, or you don't really need as much cross-chain activity, then you're definitely going to go on ICE.
Okay.
Because in the end, it's always going to be faster to execute a cross-chain transaction building on Icon, like directly on Icon in Java using the Java virtual machine. That's just always going to be faster and always going to be cheaper. So that's going to be the consideration for a developer. But again, from a branding standpoint, unlike the Icon website, once this is all kind of ironed out, Icon will be focused interoperability, learn about our bridge, learn about integrating BTP with your application, learn about how to build a cross-chain app. That's going to be Icon's website, and ICE is going to be more about are you interested in building EVM, EWASM compatible products? Build on the substrate ecosystem and be connected to Icon, blah, blah, blah. It'll be kind of like a lot of backlinks between the two different websites.
Scott, real quick question. I'm sorry. Yeah. Just to create some excitement for the ICX community, when Polygon, did what it did with Ethereum, it had a lot of opportunity for the Polygon community to just yield farm and have a lot of upside. We're going to have to attract liquidity coming onto ICE. So I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of opportunity for the ICX family to come and make some money, right?
I'll just go ahead and agree with that.
So Scott, if I were to just take a step back, and I don't know, I should have asked you to prep this a little bit because I'm throwing you under a bus here.
Okay.
Could you give let's use IconBet as an example for how would, if they wanted to, I guess, get onto ICE, how would the BTP integration aid them, or would it aid them, and how would that component work? I really want to just paint a picture of if they were on Icon versus they were on ICE, how would the tokens, how would the dApp migrate? What would BTP enable? Am I asking too much in this question?
Do they have to build two Icon bets? I guess it's kind of
yes.
I feel like this is a fairly technical conversation that would require.
It doesn't need to.
More,
I guess
no, it doesn't.
I don't know if it needs to get. I don't know if it needs to be a technical. I think it was just kind of from a bigger picture standpoint. What exactly, if you're sitting there in your Icon bet, it's kind of okay. Do we need to build a separate one and then have a way to bridge them, or is there a way we can just continue to exist as is, and then it's easy to move ICE over, or hopefully you kind of get where we're coming from?
I guess I don't fully understand what you mean by moving over to ICE. They could deploy their contracts on ICE. They could deploy the same games. From a user experience perspective, not much is going to change. I guess I don't fully understand what the question is getting at. If IconBet did absolutely nothing when ICE launches, nothing would change. I mean, everything is fine. Icon 2.0 is going to launch. People can still play on the core Icon network. Everything will be the same. But if they have some strategic reason that they'd want to move to ICE, for example, there was an extremely successful or let's say there was an extremely intricate casino game built on Ethereum that isn't getting much traction because Ethereum is super slow. Then they could just copy that code and deploy it on ICE in minutes, right? That's as opposed to rewriting the entire thing in Java on Icon. Right. So that would be a strategic reason. Do I know if that exists or if IconBet has found one of those types of games? I have no idea, but that would be a reason to do it. Is to leverage EVM compatibility. If you have a reason that you want EVM compatibility, then that's why you would use ICE.
And they could just accept
compatibility for that.
Yeah, and they could just accept, if they're existing on Icon Core as they are now, they could also just accept ICE via BTP and just build it.
They could just accept ICE tokens. Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Easy enough. Yep.
Okay.
So, Scott, with currently, for example, we know Reliant Node are reworking their MyIcon wallet, and I understand that with ICE, the beauty of it is we'd be able to integrate MetaMask. Correct me if I've got that wrong.
That is one of the great pieces, yeah.
Excellent. So part of my question here is, with Reliant Node's wallet, will there be infrastructure in place with that wallet to support the ICE chain as well? So it can kind of manage, I guess, because part of their design is the dApps are going to be, we'll be able to pick it via the extension as well, which is quite cool. Will that kind of get integrated, or will it be that you'd have to use MetaMask for the ICE chain?
Yeah, I would definitely expect. I would say that we'll probably work with MyIcon wallet to support all blockchains that are in the BTP ecosystem.
Okay, great. I know we've been throwing rogue questions at you. Thank you, Scott, for answering.
Taking it.
Now, I'm just looking. To date, according to requests, I haven't gotten any from anyone to speak up. I have sent a couple of extra speaker requests, but no one's accepted. So again, I think if you need to speak up, you need to hit a button. I assume it's the mic, and it notifies me that I've got a request. I haven't gotten anything, so we will just keep throwing questions at Scott. Oh, I got a request. Wait, here we go. You're on. No. Hey.
Technical difficulties there.
Specific optimization for interop between Icon and ICE.
Yeah, I don't see any. In terms of specific optimization, are you talking about like maybe lower fees or?
I was thinking some kind of priority inside like BTP message queue or something like that.
I see.
To reduce the latency.
Yeah, we could. That's something that kind of could be thought about for Icon 2.0, and maybe if we wanted to add more chains like that, like ICE, that like maybe right now we want EVM and EWASM, but maybe the future of blockchain is the COSM-WASM. There you go.
Done. Oh,
nice. Yeah. So I don't think we'll have any specific optimizations, at least to start. But that's something that could be considered for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I was like starting to think about using ICE, for example, to behave like a kind of load balancing for the apps. So like some DApps would run on Icon network, and if there is some heavy load or something like that, some part of the transaction are redirected to ICE directly. And then for the user, of course, it would be seamless. They wouldn't even notice that the transaction are executed on a different network, but yeah,
we could do that.
It would be interesting.
That's definitely, exactly. Since it does have a special place in the Icon ecosystem, we could consider like some enhancements to make it as low latency as possible. Yeah, priority in the BTP message queue. I think that makes sense.
All right, good.
Thanks.
Yep. Thanks.
Thank you, Naim, for actually stepping up and requesting and talking. This is great. First one. Scott, so with as we're talking, obviously this will ship post Icon 2.0?
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, okay.
And the snapshot for the airdrop will be after Icon 2.0.
So I got one of the other things in that tweet thread that got mentioned was the CPS being utilized for BTP expansion and things like that. I assume it's still obviously going to be available for expansion on the ICE network. I guess kind of the first question is it, I think if someone wants to build something on ICE, they can get a CPS proposal as is and get paid in ICX, and the ICX is still good, so I don't think that's changed a whole lot. But I guess in terms of BTP expansion and stuff like that, what what would that kind of look like? Would it be, helping to fund, contract development on other potential connected chains and things like that? Or what other kind of ways would CPS be used to help?
I think a great way would be like creating new BTP standards. So BTP works with a series of service contracts.
I want to get your answer on the CPS, because I think in 2 words into it, is when it crashed. So maybe finish up that part, and then we can hop over to balance, if that's cool with you.
Sure. What was the question though? I don't remember.
Basically, to the extent that BTP, you mentioned that CPS is going to be used to fund BTP kind of growth and expansion, everything like that. And I kind of mentioned, obviously, on ICE, people can still probably request through the core CPS and just get funding and still build on ICE. But to what extent
for an example, right?
To what extent was CPS going to be used for helping BTP growth, expansion, all that kind of thing that got alluded to in that tweet thread?
How can the CPS help? How can BTP expansion? I think like one clear example is the development of new service contract standards. So everything we've spoken about has been a specific type of service. BTP operates with different service contracts. It's just like part of the BTP architecture. And each service contract can be as like general or specific as you want. And what we've been talking about is sending ICX from the ICON network to the ICE network. That's a native token transfer service. That's a specific smart contract that's a standard in BTP. So if you want to transfer a native token, like this is how you do it, right? So we could come up with, so someone could apply to the CPS and be like, hey, I want to build an NFT token transfer service. So that way, if anyone wants to transfer NFTs from the ICON network to ICE or elsewhere, this is the standard way of getting that done. And it'll transfer all the data properly, blah, blah, blah. So building a new service for BTP, I think, is something that we can use the CPS for, that I'd like to see happen, is developers coming up with new innovative ways of using BTP.
Cool.
All right.
Cool. Okay, so I think this leads perfectly into, shall we, if there's nothing more around ICE, or I feel we've gotten a lot more insights on that matter, shall we jump to balance?
Let's do it. Let's have Parrot 9 is here, right?
Yep, I've got them as speaker. I've sent a couple of speaker requests.
Let's
Welcome,
force
Lisa.
Parrot 9 to answer every single question and put them on the spot.
So I think the first, let's start off with, obviously, how are we going with, there were changes, some big changes coming about by the end of this month. How are we tracking with those rebalancing changes and some of the other charts, etc., that is being planned by the end of this month?
Yeah, so at this stage, we're still on track. We're planning to have a release near the end of the month that's going to have likes of the transaction history, the price charts, the statistics page, just more of the data-based stuff, so that people can have more insight into what's actually happening, not only with their own position, but just with balanced in general. As for the rebalancing, that's probably more of a Scott question to answer. I think you've been working more on the smart contract side of that.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that's tracking well. I'm not sure if we're going to go ahead and have the automated rebalancing like fully tested by the end of this month. Right now, I'm working on putting together like a well thought out kind of monthly development expectations, where we'll look at like what we did last month and what we plan to do in the coming month. So I think automated rebalancing will likely be kind of a July endeavor.
Okay, sounds good. That's good to know.
I've got a question. I've got a question on the transaction history. Is that going to be when you guys post that up? I assume it'll just say, hey, for my account, here's all the transactions. Whether it's I deposited liquidity or I took out a loan or whatever it is, or I made a swap. A, I assume that if that's not correct, please clarify. But also B, is that going to be retroactive going back to the start of using the service, or will it only be moving forward as far as tracking those transactions?
So
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. It will be all of the transactions. I think we do have all of the data to be able to show all of them. And yeah, it's just going to be basically, let me just look. had the stats somewhere.
I'll be on the prototype.
I have it in front of me just as a reference. Yeah, so basically we've got a whole bunch of different types of transactions that will show up on the homepage. So things like whether you deposited or withdrew ICX collateral, if you borrowed or repaid balanced dollars, if you were to send or receive assets, claim balance tokens or sue network fees, staking and unstaking balance tokens, swapping assets, supplying liquidity, withdrawing liquidity, if any of your collateral and loan are rebalanced, or any of that. So like all of those main transactions will all be displayed in the transaction history.
Basically everything you'd want to potentially know.
Yeah, exactly. So I think
Perfect.
we've covered everything that you should really need to look at there.
Love it.
Hey, just a quick call out, Lisa, Peter. I love the little question mark you've added in the collateral when it's deposited, and it gives that explanation. Brilliant. Solved one of the biggest questions everyone asks. I just noticed it the other day, and I thought in my head, I hope people are realizing this, so I'm giving it a shout out. Yes, it's hidden, but if you look, you're getting all the information it needs to tell you. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's quite interesting when you come across a problem like that. Like it was hard to gauge how confusing the SICX was going to be for people, and so like when people were getting confused, we're like, do we put something really blatantly in the interface? But you kind of don't really want to do that because there are a lot of people who are able to maneuver through it without any confusion. So by adding too many extra elements, you can confuse the people who weren't confused. So yeah, it's a really fine balance, but I think sometimes the solution is often the simplest.
If anything, it was the beginners that found it the easiest, whereas people with a little bit more experience got a bit more confused.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Cool. Okay. So I think the next part I wanted to jump in. I think I would like to take some time and talk through. Obviously, currently we don't have the proposal and governance system in place. We are still a DAO, balanced, but these features are being built out. So one of the challenges I have noticed, and any team would face when these features are still being built out, is how do you make changes with community input given that you're in a certain position and you want to try and make sure that you have to pivot quickly or make certain changes that are for the good of the protocol and the people. And so we had something like this come about that the community voiced up saying no, didn't agree with the proposed changes, and straight away everyone listened and it was scrapped. I guess I'm giving a bit of a summary here in case anyone didn't know and people did know, and putting a bit more context around it. The proposed changes were drafted with a lot of input from various people in the community. The goal around it was to go, okay, what can we do to ease the distribution process? But at the same time, from my view, it was redirecting it into the treasury, which is controlled by the balance holders, no one else. So this got put out, and obviously there was substantial feedback around various things, but I guess the learnings out of it was that such big changes, there needs to be governance, and the proposal needs to be drafted with community input. And I guess does the team want to talk through just some of the insights around this and what the reflection was with the community feedback?
I'll jump in, and I am curious to hear from Lisa as well. I mean, I definitely had a lot of input on that proposal as well. Just kind of working with you guys, Fez, like the kind of DAO managers, talking it through. But yeah, definitely number one, learning from there is Telegram polls are definitely not acceptable. I think that's fair to say, and I also think it's fair feedback. The main reason we went with the Telegram poll was because we had that early decision that was made where was the allocation for the balance token SICX liquidity mining incentive, where was it going to come from? And we did that with the Telegram poll, and it was actually like a nail biter. And that was well received. I mean, no one had any comments about that. So I figured, doing this Telegram poll round 2 wouldn't have had, or would have had similar effects, but it most certainly did not. And if anything, at this point, all it's made me do is think, all right, full control of governance over to balanced token holders, so we can start making some decisions and making some changes is definitely a priority. So it's just kind of shifted priorities internally into thinking like, all right, governance is something that we need to implement as quickly as possible, or like more robust governance, if you will. And that's I don't know. That's kind of my key takeaways. Ultimately, I don't think the proposal itself was bad, and I think like looking at the Telegram poll, I think it was passing not 67%, but over 50. And the it seemed like the majority of the feedback was just around how it was going down, rather than the proposal itself, which is totally fair.
Yeah, appreciate the insight, Scott. Lisa, Peter, any views?
Not too much to add, really. Just I guess it was a little unexpected when we did get a lot of the negative feedback from the community about it, but we definitely took it on board straight away. And as soon as people were not happy, there was no way we would have gone through with it. It's very clear that having the DAO and everyone being able to weigh in and have their opinion is very important. So we don't want to mess with that. So our full priorities at the moment are just trying to get governance out as soon as possible.
Yeah, and one thing I kind of find interesting, this is like somewhat of a tangent perhaps, but DAO voting right now, when everyone's screaming for on-chain and stuff, which of course I definitely want it to be on-chain. I just find it interesting that everybody thinks that a plutocracy is a far more meaningful way to engage in governance, which that is how all DAOs operate right now, as a plutocracy. Those with the most money, those with the most invested in the protocol, have the most weight. A Telegram poll, although can easily be spammed, is closer to one person, one vote, which is kind of traditional democracy. But everyone was like, no, no one person, one vote. Although, again, it's going to be there could be some spam involved. But everyone's pretty anti one person, one vote, and very supportive of, kind of $1, one vote, which is what traditional DAO governance is. So I do find it interesting, the emphasis on plutocracy and the emphasis of on-chain voting weighted by how much money you have.
It's a good view, good insights on that process as well. Iconographer, do you have anything you want to? And by the way, anyone who had questions, you can step up. Sorry if I haven't said this earlier. Just push some buttons. It'll notify me, and I'll do something. And you're up.
I've got a I guess a more interesting, an interesting kind of question. I don't know if it'll elicit a good answer or not, but as and now we've been almost to 2 months here through the app. Has there been anything as far as kind of whether it's like the results of the performance of the application itself, as far as like total value locked and whatever metrics you're looking at, or just kind of the experience itself that you guys were surprised by, either pleasantly or otherwise, up to this point?
It's a good question. I mean, I still think that the SICX thing for us was probably the biggest surprise for us. We weren't expecting that to be as much of a tripping point as it was. Yeah.
As far as things that we weren't really expecting, I still think probably as far as this, how well the platform has performed so far, I think probably the thing that none of the team was expecting was that within the first 16 days, we got 10% of the circulating supply of ICX. We didn't really have a firm target that we were aiming for. I think Scott might have at one point said something like 1%. Like we weren't expecting to have a lot right off the bat, but I think getting to that milestone so early in the process, that was probably the thing that blew me away the most so far.
No, same here. I mean, like people may ask why build on Icon, and I mean, like that's like I got asked that a decent amount just when I'm kind of representing balanced externally, and less of like a core Icon project contributor. And I mean, to me, that's just major opportunity when there's no existing DeFi protocol in a blockchain ecosystem, and people are hungry for yield. And you give them that opportunity. I mean, you get 10% of the entire circulating supply is pretty unreal.
Yeah.
So I guess.
Yeah,
sorry.
I've also done, so I. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. I guess me personally, I just obviously I was thinking towards the future, and maybe like we're still trying to understand what everything about ICE and BTP, but as far as the future of balance, is there any like way you could like paint us a picture of where you like balance would work with BTP over ICE or ICE over BTP, or is there an instant where like you'd use both to create like a brand new like product?
You want me to take this one?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry. So can you just refine the question for me a bit?
Sure.
Exactly. Sure.
Sure thing. Like we have like I guess my understanding of BTP is more like a connector to like a Polkadot, a Kusama, or something with a different governance model or a proof of stake. And then when it comes to like ICE, that's our connection to Ethereum, right? So in a case like for the future where Balance is looking to grow or like integrate new assets where like maybe they want to integrate like an ETH-based token or Ethereum, they'd use like ICE to like make like a to lock up some Ethereum there, then transfer it over through BTP to Balanced, or like I just was curious to see like which way is there like one situation where you use like you use ICE over versus like BTP, or you use BTP over ICE, or both at the same time?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I'd say this just takes some kind of breaking down of what these pieces actually are.
Yeah.
And I think so EVM compatibility does not mean that you're connected to Ethereum.
Okay.
So very high level, without diving into super deep details, it's just the smart contracts are written in Solidity. It's like a very simple way to think about it. There's obviously a lot more that goes into it, but when a chain says, "Hey, I'm EVM compatible, come port your project over to my chain or come build on my chain instead of this other chain, I'm EVM compatible," they're saying, "Hey, you already have all this work and the code is written in Solidity. Instead of building it on this other slow network, build it on my fast network. Just deploy it. You can copy and paste your code." That is all you need to think of for EVM compatibility. So thinking that way, you understand that like ICE is by no means any replacement for BTP. It's not a connection to Ethereum. You wouldn't pick you wouldn't be able to get ERC20 tokens like any Ethereum-based token onto ICE because it's EVM compatible. It just means that the smart contracts are written in Solidity, while icons are written in Python. Icons are written in Java. All right, that's the key difference. If you wanted to port your Ethereum product over to Icon because it's faster, you'd have to rewrite the entire thing in Java. That takes months. So that's why you would use ICE.
Perfect.
And then BTP is like anytime you want to bring any asset or any data from another blockchain onto your application. That's what BTP is for. It's exchanging data or tokens between networks. So you would use BTP if I wanted to add ETH as collateral on Balanced, I would use BTP. I would bring Ethereum from the Ethereum network onto Icon using BTP. You see how they're different?
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Situation, did that answer your question?
Right. Yeah, it did. It did very much so. Thank you.
All right. No problem.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
So there was I saw, I think a bunch of people on Twitter saw it. There's an upcoming event called Reimagine 2021, and part of it was there's a video, a pretty nice looking video promoting Balance there. I assume that was done by you guys. Is that just kind of an initial example of some marketing you're doing? Is it a sign of kind of bigger marketing efforts? Do you want to put that in context, and if it's going to lead to more potentially as far as marketing is concerned?
We are going to do more marketing in general. You may have seen yesterday we had a data dash video that was released that we sponsored. And so we'll continue doing more videos like that, and just marketing in general. We are planning to ramp up when we have this geometry release. We're planning to do a lot more outreach then, just to try to spread out a bit more to target more of the main crypto ecosystem. I was even planning to put something on Product Hunt so we can start trying to get that amping up, and just really trying to push everything forwards. Really,
because what we're trying to do is initially we'll be focusing on the content creation because we're needing stuff like videos made and animation. But a long form video isn't good for something like a Twitter promoted post, but it would be good elsewhere. So once we have that initial content, it's building once and selling twice. So we'll be cutting it up and using the same messaging, but across a whole bunch of different mediums for where it makes the most amount of sense.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, we do plan on posting something in Reddit. We have been wanting to engage the community a bit more in how we're thinking about marketing and our approach in general. So we do plan on putting something on Reddit within the next week or two that's just really going to kind of outline how we're thinking about things and how we plan to approach marketing, so you can kind of see what we're planning to do and working with that or whatever. So just to provide a bit more transparency, so it's not just, where's the marketing? We don't see it with, giving you guys more of what our game plan is.
Oh, good.
Brilliant.
And then on a similar note, and your answer might be the same as it was on the Clubhouse interview, but as far as getting on like CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap and everything like that, I've seen people still ask about it, so I figured I'd ask as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a prime example of EVM compatibility being helpful, right? If I said, hey, CoinGecko, I'm another ERC20 token that's one of the thousands listed on Uniswap, and all you have to do is the exact same thing that you've done thousands of times, I'm sure it would be much easier to get on there. But we did submit the application. I've been speaking with them. I think they're kind of just making sure that Balanced is for real and not going to close up shop in a couple of weeks. So they've been monitoring our stats page. I shared that with them, and I'm just going to keep staying on them and keep talking to them about it, pinging them.
So the short answer would be the ball is in their court of this.
Oh yeah, yep.
So, just with 5 minutes left, Scott, Lisa, Peter, I feel there's one topic that we haven't covered, and I do want to cover this because I feel perhaps there's not that much clarity within the community. So I am going to go there. Scott, part of this, where the proposal came through, it brought light to worker tokens, and people started just throwing comments left, right, and center. And what I gauged from them is there wasn't a detailed understanding about this process. So I'm just giving some context, and correct me if I get it wrong, but I'm pretty sure I nailed this. Essentially, we got 20% of the supply that gets delegated to the worker tokens, gets distributed. This came to light. This isn't hidden. This was always in the white paper, so this is for everyone out there. Remember, balance is not pre-mined. It's distributed day by day. So, if it was an ICO where 80% was sold in the ICO and 20% was retained, that would be normal for a team to retain, not just 20. Sometimes they retain, what did you say, Scott? Synthetics have retained how much of their token supply?
Well, I'd say all you have to do is go to CoinMarketCap and see circulating supply versus total, and usually it's around half. Just looking at a handful of projects. So 50% or plus or minus. But I mean, DAO projects, I think, range anywhere between, 20% I would say is maybe the median or on the lower end of the spectrum that goes to the core development team.
Yep. So coming back to what I was saying, traditionally in an ICO, if this was held 80% sold up front, 20% probably would get locked up, 10% would get locked up to get released over 3 years, etc. In Balanced, you're kind of looking at different, it's getting distributed day by day. The 20% is also...
Sorry, I tried to jump in, but you could think of it, if you want to think of it like an ICO, you could think of there being 30 million tokens. 80% goes to users, and that's leaked out, 100,000 per day, and it continues tapering. 20% of that goes to the team, and it's like a vesting schedule every day. I mean, that's kind of how it works. It's like a built-in guaranteed vesting schedule. You could think of it as a pre-mine with a lockup period that vests a tiny bit every day, or you could think of it as no pre-mine. It's really the exact same thing economically.
Yeah. Great. Good. I just wanted to touch on that just in case, because that's part of what this community call was about. And we've touched on everything else mentioned. And I didn't want it to seem like it was avoided. There's nothing. This is the most transparent distribution system there is. And to really shout out, teams have been working for 2 years away on this project. this is part, they haven't gotten pre-funded. This is part of the process of how this was being built and done. So there's nothing different. In fact, it's quite good compared to everything out there. And I just don't, sometimes we get carried away in different spaces, and this is probably not something to think that it's being manipulated or any kind of stuff that I've read in the last 2 weeks, but it's just not the case. It's quite a decent and fair distribution system. So look, that's great. I'm glad we covered it off. If there's anyone, no one's still put their mic up or hand up to talk, so I'm just going to keep waffling. The last part I wanted to ask, Scott, the biggest thing is, okay, the distribution. How are we going with the, are we close? Is the end of the month as well still that period plan for when we see these fees that have been held in the Treasury distributed to stakers and LP providers?
Yep, still on base. Things are going well.
Excellent. Oh, look at that. Quick answer. Great. I think.
So will that just be you just wake up one morning and the fees are
no? We're going to do a 5-day vote for the governance media.
Got it.
So we'll kind of like start the vote with the geometry release and go from there.
Sweet.
Yep.
Right.
Exciting times.
Any final words? Anything to wrap up?
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm amped. I love despite any of the I'm loving the community. I'm balanced right now. I love the passion and engagement that we've got, like with the whole Telegram poll thing. I know there was like some negativity that spawned from it, but the community continues to emerge stronger, more passionate, more educated on trends, doing more research, and just continuing to become a stronger and stronger core community, which is like absolutely essential to the long-term success of a DAO. So looking forward to working closely with the community long into the future.
Awesome.
Yep. Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Peter, for jumping on. I noticed we had Dakey on there for a little while and a few others. Thank you, everyone else who's joined in just to listen. And Naeem, special shout out to you actually stepping up and asking a question. We got one person who asked a question. Kudos. Cool. Look, that's all from my end. We will have this. I'll have this. We'll edit it and have it out today, so everyone who missed out can actually listen and learn so much more to everything that's been announced in the last few days. So thanks everyone for jumping on. Take care all.
See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.